I was about to say, is it bad that you can see yourself? Like, is it like a bird that in a reflection in the mirror, like where you just can't not
I don't
look?
feel, it's not that bad.
Okay, great.
Every now and then I'll just look to make sure that I'm not like this because that is really irritating to watch.
I'm glad that you now see it.
So that's good to see that I have it low and that my posture's up, but I don't,
Oh, you want your pillow?
Almost see it like another.
I will say this, and you can even see it here. There is just Jennifer hair all over this pillow. And I've cleaned it recently. And this is new Jennifer hair that just gets trapped on there.
Noting that. No, I think I'm okay. Like, I'll see.
It helps. Just I like it behind me. Like when a guest says they don't want it, I'm like, you're lost.
It's nothing about comfort. It's all about
it helps you have better posture. These are not made for posture. These are made for like
how it sort of pushes this pudge forward.
Well, Mark Edworthy just did like a morning of podcasts, and by the third one he was like this.
He's laying back.
Yeah, so he didn't have the pillow, so the pillow's really helpful.
I'm trying to think of. I'll start because the last time we did this, I started talking about how it looked like a melted candle.
I kept it in there because that was so funny.
There were some pretty funny lines in the last one.
I think we're good at this. I don't know why we're not famous. I don't understand.
Really?
But I think we're great.
Well, I'm glad to hear that you think we're good at it.
I think we're great at it.
Do you think? Am I loud enough?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Somebody has to make sure that I'm kind of rolling out of here. I've got to meet with the teacher today.
Yeah, well, you've got a mouthful of gum right now, and so I'd love for you to lose that.
Do you think that matters?
Absolutely, it does. Hello, and welcome to the Almost Amazing podcast from the City Rise Network. Hosted by Jennifer Dennis and produced by me, Justin Kello, we're a podcast that was supposed to be focused on parenting, but we've kind of lost the plot along the way. Honestly, we don't know what this podcast is about, but we talk to incredible people who love Jesus, and our hope is to provide encouragement and fun whenever possible. If our lack of clear direction bothers you, we apologize, but no one is making you listen to this podcast, unless you're married to Jennifer. Andy, thanks for listening.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Almost Amazing podcast. It's me, Jennifer Dennis. I'm excited that you're here today. Yes. And it's in my face already again. The microphone. And I'm here with Justin.
Hello.
Justin, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Now we try not to say dates on here very often, but it is May the 4th. And so
oh, no.
I was about to say, my question is this a big day for Andy or is he kind of over it?
It's huge.
And you forgot? You didn't buy him a gift?
I haven't. I didn't even wish him a May 4th this morning.
Is it a big deal for you?
Yes. Like my sister for Christmas got Andy a Star Wars cookbook.
Oh, fun.
Let me just say, not a lot of that seemed very appealing because it's at these weird space cantinas.
A lot of food coloring.
Half of it's still alive.
Yeah,
they're serving it. It's gray and stuff's flying out of it.
Yeah.
Actually, it may be like my own original cooking.
Probably very similar.
I did not wish him a happy.
Wow. Well, it's not too late. The day's not over.
That's a sign of your marriage getting rusty.
Oh, no. You forget important holidays like May the 4th.
May the 4th. That's the first sign.
Well.
But yes, he wants to. We have a medical student Bible study at our house on Thursday nights, and he's already looking up Star Wars treats to give them.
Wow.
Themes.
That's great. Well, May the 4th is today. May the 5th. Cinco de Mayo is tomorrow, and it's my son's 5th birthday. So it's his golden birthday tomorroar. So we got a big weekend.
I can't believe
planned.
it. In part of my brain, Olivia's still 5 years old.
I hate to hear that because I know that that's going to be me too. When you think about it, like growing up, 15 years seems like forever. And then you're a grown up and you're like, dude, 15 years is fast.
It goes
fast.
It gets faster and faster.
So I don't think it's so much that kids, so people say like, oh, when you have kids, time starts flying. I just think when you're an adult, years mean different things to you than when you're a kid, and you happen to have like a gauge living in your house like that's growing every year. So I know that before I know it, he'll be out of the house.
So what are you guys doing for Bear's birthday?
He is going to have a gymnastics ninja birthday party at the gymnastics place. So just jumping around for an hour and a half. So that's what we're doing. It'll be a busy weekend.
Don't you love those 90-minute birthday parties?
Yeah, but now you just like, you pay them and they do everything. It's like they do the cake, the drinks, they do everything. So
I think I went to like 73 bounce pump it up parties.
Yes, but they do it for you. It's
they do it all for you.
Like we are all about convenience. We will never
you show
throw
up
our
with
own party
a cake and a bunch of cash for socks.
Yep.
And you just roll it on the.
Well, what was cool is I asked Kristen, I was like, are we buying any gifts? She's like, no, they're bringing gifts and we pay for the party. I was like, I'm so glad we're at that phasing our, because like early on, one partner usually wants to buy gifts no matter what. It's like, but you need something from us.
Guilty.
But I don't know if you grew out of it, but
they're not going to get her something she really needs, Andy.
Yes. So we finally have grown out of it. We're just going to depend on grandparents and friends, and then we pay for the party. That's
you guys
present.
are no dummies for sure.
What about you? What are you up to?
Well, I'll tell you what. This week I had jury duty. It was on Wednesday morning. Of course, 1,000 things are going on in your life when you have jury duty.
Yeah.
But I had to head over there. I'd already rescheduled it once. And I'm afraid that if I didn't go, it would fall on an even worse, harder day to get away, like VBS or something. Yeah. So Andy's like, you need to leave the house by 7:20 to get over there and get in time. Not enough time. Okay, that's fine. I left at 7:22.
Okay.
Woo! I figured out my way downtown using maps. I could not locate could not make that happen. The garage free parking space they give you. So I think I ended up paying like more than I should have.
Oh no.
Probably for an Astros game.
Yeah.
Along with
and were you chosen?
No, this is the craziest thing, Justin. I walked in and there is like live jazz music playing.
Okay.
And I was like, wow, jury duty has stepped up its game. I was like, you guys have live jazz here? And I love jazz music.
I did not know that.
And they're like, oh yeah, it's Jury Appreciation Week.
Oh.
And I go, what? That's a thing?
Yeah.
And I came on Jury Appreciation Week. And not only do they have like breakfast, free coffee, they also had door prizes.
This is nuts to me because like, it's not like you're a full-time juror. Okay. No. So like all these other hundreds of thousands of people have served on juries this year.
That's exactly
they don't get anything.
There's only this one sliver of people who feel appreciated.
And so we just have to hope that you'll report back to us how appreciated you felt.
And the district clerk came in and introduced herself to our entire group. And which I thought, Leanne Burgess, which I thought was really nice. Yeah. And thanked us for our service. Yeah. And this is a cornerstone of democracy. Sure. You're making things happen. Yeah. And so I was like, this is pretty cool. So about 200 of them got pushed out and sent to different courts. And there were about maybe 75 of us waiting. And they're like, okay, you guys hang tight. They have to decide whether they're going to settle or utilize a jury. Okay. So this could take between 5 minutes to hours, just hang. And so we waited for about an hour and they called us back in and dismissed us. So I was dismissed.
I've never had to do that.
So not only did I not have to be in the jury, because some people love that. Yeah. But when I have a lot going on, it's stressful. But to get to experience the live jazz and not have to be on a jury and get free coffee.
You got appreciated for nothing.
So I sent her an email. Wow. I thanked her for an amazing jury experience.
Wow. There's a TV show I really want to watch. It's on have you seen it?
Well, I had several people mention it to me after.
It looks so funny.
I'll have to check it out.
It's called Jury Duty. And basically the premise is there is a fake trial going on where they have a juror and there's a judge and all this stuff. And it's all fake, but there's one juror who doesn't know it's fake. And so everyone else is an actor, but he is responding in real time. No. So you've got all these people. Of course, there's some script, but it's a lot of improv of like, it's almost like The Truman Show, which is an old movie with Jim Carrey. Where he's the only one that's not in on it. So they had this one juror who does not know that it's fake. And the guy from X-Men, James Marsden, he's on Hairspray as well. Yes. He's one of the jurors.
Certainly.
So does
he play himself?
Yes, it's in California.
Oh,
so it's kind of like he you know what I'm saying? It's not wild to think that maybe someone famous would end up on a jury or whatever.
Well, it's funny that I also remember that reality show where that one guy was the only one that didn't know it was a reality show.
Oh.
And it was kind of to make fun of him or kind of poke fun at the guy who's stuck on the reality show.
Yeah.
He was clueless. Everybody else keeps getting voted off and things are happening. But it turns out he was such a good guy that it flipped the show to where everybody was rooting for him and loved him.
Oh, I think I remember. I haven't seen it, but
Plain Ed.
I think I saw a very short documentary about it at one point, a minute-long documentary, and but I hadn't seen it. So anyway, that when you say Jury Duty, I immediately think that's a show I want to watch. I think it's on Amazon Prime. It's also on Freevee, which is another channel they have that's free. But it's just seems like a really clever premise. But
it was a good time. So that was Jury Duty. I've checked off my.
I've never been called. I've never gone.
My constitutional.
When we moved from Virginia to here, somehow the letter got forwarded to me that like I've been called for like a federal jury in Virginia.
Oh my goodness.
And I was like, I don't live there. And they're like, okay, yeah, you don't have to come. I was like, I'm not flying back.
That would have been kind of cool though.
I'm not a resident
Kirby
anymore.
Follis was telling me he is always selected.
Really? He looks trustworthy.
He looks so trustworthy and he has like a kind face.
Did you watch 30 Rock?
Poor Kirby.
Did you ever watch 30 Rock TV show?
Yes.
Was Lemon, the Faye person, Tina Fey, when she gets called for jury duty, she's trying to look untrustworthy. So she like, speaking of May the 4th, she came in like a full like Princess Leia get up and like
she gets excused pretty quickly.
She usually does, but then she tries it one year and they're like, sorry, we're desperate. And so she's on the jury as like
sorry, we're desperate.
So it's anyway. There's a lot of fun jury stuff that like I've never been a part of that. I'm sure it's not that fun, but it looks fun to me.
Well, in half of the TV shows we watched growing up, there were always juries for every trial, no matter what. Like it didn't even occur to me to so much later in life that 99% of this stuff gets settled out of court.
And now we're watching all these true crime documentaries and there's a lot of juries and stuff too. So I think there's still this thought like, oh, maybe I'll get something cool. But even if you're selected, it's probably not cool.
Just like in every TV show growing up, somebody got arrested. Like all of the characters on Golden Girls have been arrested. Like,
really? Oh, I mean, it was one episode. They all got arrested at the same time.
Right. But Seinfeld, they all got arrested.
That's how they ended the series.
If you go down, everybody eventually gets arrested.
Yeah.
And so
Barney, everybody arrested.
Did Barney get arrested? So all of that to say,
do we have somebody to talk to today?
Well, Justin, I'm really excited about let me back up and say.
So excited you can't even talk.
I'm really excited about our guest today because it's a returning guest who had a fantastic show. We had so many great comments and we are welcoming her back. Trisha, welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm really glad to be here.
Oh my goodness. It's so good to see you.
Listen, I want to start by saying I'm so excited that Trisha is sitting right here. Like Trisha and your husband, Keith, and your family, they're the type of people that, you're transparent about your struggles, which is really refreshing because I think in ministry it's really easy to like guard yourself so much because you've got this like persona you need to like protect, and y'all are so honest and vulnerable. But at the same time, like when there's like 3 people in my life, maybe like 5, that when I'm around, I want to be closer to Jesus, and your family is one of them. Thanks, and to have someone like, you know, you're on the mission field serving. So when you come back, I'm always like, whoa, this is like a huge thing for so many people in our church, because just the short spans that y'all get to spend with us, I think are really encouraging for really anyone that comes in contact with you. So
Thank you,
I'm
Justin.
pumped to have you.
Which is funny because they're here for a break.
Yeah. We're like, please minister to us. Teach us how to love Jesus.
It's always such a beautiful, like big hugs. And so you're transitioning back for a season. What is that transition like?
Well, we just moved from Chad. We've been in Africa the last 17 years, Sudan, South Sudan, Egypt, Chad. And it's a huge deal.
That is massive. So as you look back over the 17 years of serving at Chad, what will be these heart memories that you'll keep with you forever? Like, what are some moments that you're like, I never want this to be not part of my story or my,
you know,
that would have been a good question to send you before you're sitting before a camera.
I got it, Jen.
The worst.
So just to clarify, 17 years in Africa, 7 years in Chad.
Yeah.
So our season in Chad was amazing. God really did sweet things. Something that was really unexpected that we're so thankful for is that we saw the first women come into the kingdom.
Oh, wow.
The first Muslim women come into the kingdom. Our house helper. And I had prayed. We had a surprise. I'm pregnant with David, our 5th. And I thought, well, I'm never going to leave the house now because I have 5 kids. And so, Lord, would you send us a woman to be our house helper who will start a movement? And he did. And it's not a full-fledged movement, meaning reap like 5+ generations, not like that. But we believe it's the beginning. And probably hundreds of women have either come into the kingdom or had solid gospel exposure through her life and her ministry.
Wow.
And it was precious. And about 1.5 years ago, she went to be with the Lord. And though that was like devastating for our family, it's just so precious that she's with Jesus. She graduated before I did. And she's reunited with other people that she's led into the kingdom who've already passed into the kingdom and are with Jesus, passed into glory, I should say. So that's really special. That's a really special thing that I think I'll never forget. And yeah.
Well, what's great to hear you say about that is it's so clear, you know, you were able and have been able as a woman to minister to women in a way that men can't. And so it just, to me, it illustrates the value of both parties in any ministry, of being uniquely equipped to minister to your gender, you know, and that's huge to be able to give that testimony of, like, especially in a culture that, from what I understand, is even more oppressive to women in some ways than others. And so to have you, and I'm sure your sweet daughters, ministering alongside you, like, it's just really cool to hear that affirmation of God using you, as your husband was doing incredible things with the men. You know what I'm saying? It's like y'all both had very clear ministry callings that either one of you couldn't have done by yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like, y'all really had to be a partnership, because if your husband had gone alone, he would have had a whole half of the population he didn't have access to, really. Is that true?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely. Something that exciting. So we sort of had 2 people that we were reaching out to and supporting in ministry, Chadians and Sudanese, because we were right near the border. And so when we were asked to leave Sudan in 2013, that's why we ended up in Eastern Chad, so that we could continue to be geographically proximate to Sudanese. And what's special about the people that we work with in Darfur is that they have the men, even though men came into the kingdom first, they have been sharing with their wives, sharing with their sisters, sharing with their mothers. So there are women who are now in the kingdom, and they always want to be around our family. And so when you're talking about not yet believers, it's real separate. Keith is working with men, I'm working with women. But what we have seen is once people come into the kingdom, it's very easy to mix it up.
I love that.
Yeah.
I feel like sometimes we have this perception that to lead Muslims to the Lord is fantastically hard. It's a little hopeless.
You know, it's because it used to be, Jen. And it really, really used to be.
So you guys are seeing a difference, a different.
Yeah. I mean, I remember when I first started with our organization, we would go to these international conferences, and there would always be a women's breakout group, and we'd all sit there and be like, have you seen anything? Nope. Have you seen any women come into the kingdom? Not even close. And now it's not like that. Now it's just,
What do you think broke through? Do you think it's?
I don't know. I mean, the fullness
Christ
of time
is just
and God's plan. I mean, it's a million things, and then the bottom line answer is God. I'm probably not the missiologist to answer that question, but
I'm sure there's a PowerPoint being made right now on the transition.
And not by me.
Man, I think that's so exciting. So now you guys are opening a new chapter. Will you tell us about that?
Yeah. So our last sabbatical 7 years ago was so fruitful and so powerful, and really was a huge part of sustaining us in the last 7 years of ministry. So we decided we are going to do that every 7 years. We're going to take a sabbatical. This is critical. So we have a sabbatical this year, and then we have our normal home assignment where we're visiting with partners and friends. And then we plan to start a training team in the Arab Peninsula, and are really excited to continue to reach out, but also to bring younger 20-somethings alongside us who want to start teams in the Arab Peninsula. And we'll still be geographically close to Sudan. So we'll always continue, Lord willing, alongside that movement, because there are thousands of believers now, which is really exciting. And that's probably an underestimate. We try to not overestimate. So we will continue to do that, but then also starting this training team of young 20-somethings.
That's great.
Yeah.
Now, how is it you guys, when you come into the States, you guys usually come every year and it's about the same time. What is that transition like? What is that like for you guys? What's that transition like?
This one, they're different every time. This one has been extra difficult. We're in a new living situation, which is an amazing living situation. We're living with a wonderful family, but it's a new space. And we've been here almost 4 weeks and we're still not like settled. Because we have 8 people in our family. And so finding rhythms, I mean, where do you put your pants and your shirts? And where do you put your stuff? And how do you flow in the house? And we homeschool. So what is that flow and that rhythm going to look like? Just takes a long time. So that's been more challenging this time, obviously. We actually were longer than a year this time. And we're feeling that. We were feeling that, oh, wow, we really need a break. Having a little extra culture stress this time, which is surprising. I think just moving from a country where there's just such great poverty to not.
Right. To not.
That has been more challenging than normal. Yeah. And then our children are older, which is really fun, but that just means we're navigating, more people who have emotions.
And more complex emotions.
Emotions.
As you get older
and more verbal
you,
experience. They're a lot more opinionated about everything.
Yes.
And it's like, oh.
You're a person.
You're as tall as me.
I'm trying to fathom, like as a child, even as a teenager, like drastically changing my living experience for 2 months every year. Like it's like for 2 solid months, your whole life changes.
Right, that level of flexibility.
But like to where you're in your routine, and then it's like, all right, 2 solid months of like chaos, essentially, of like switching and then switching back because they've gotten so used to what they know, and then now it's, I think, the added. They don't know what they're going to next. You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
Like, I think every other time they've had this, well, I'm going to go back.
Yes.
I'm going back to what I know.
Home.
There's going to be an end to this, but now it's like going to a new thing.
Right.
So how do you help kids through transitions like that, where something new is coming and you can kind of explain it, but you really can't prepare them?
Well, we did visit the city where we plan to move. And so they have some really positive experiences there. But we don't know. It's an apartment living type city. I mean, I have an 8 and 6-year-old boy. I have 2 boys, 8 and 6. And the idea of living in an apartment with 6 kids. So we are just praying and we encourage each other. Like every time we start to worry or think about the future, let's remember our future with God. Let's remember him providing in his love and his goodness. Let's remember the joy that he has over our family. Let's pray and ask him for just the right housing situation for us. So that's, and then we talk about it. Like we give space for those fears. We give space for those questions. And I mean, sometimes the answer is, I don't know, but let's ask God to bless that thing that we don't know about, our unknown.
I love how effortlessly, and in previous conversations I've heard too, that you bring Jesus into things. There was one story you shared of like just your kid being scared of the dark or having a fear. And you're like, in the name of Jesus, fear be gone. And it's just like such a subtle, simple way to bring Jesus into your relationship with your kids. I think too much we build it up as it's got to be this like, spiritual conversation. We've got to quote scripture and you're just like, God's got, like, it's just the way you kind of almost casually bring Jesus into daily struggles that children have. I think it's something we all can like take and learn from, because it's too hard to get, or it's too easy to get overwhelmed with like, well, I got to be the spiritual leader. The spiritual leader is just pointing to God. Like, even if it's a casual point to God, it's just a simple thing. And so you've always encouraged me in that with your kids of like, just subtly bringing in Jesus. It's not a big moment. We're not going to have this like on the floor worshiping God moment. It's just, hey, God's got this. Like, don't worry about it. In the name of Jesus, fear be gone. Like, that's the sort of thing that I latch onto as a parent that I think is easier than some of these, like, have a devotional for an hour and a half with your kids. That's the thing that's always.
Are you not having hour and a half?
I mean, if I'm going to confess things right now, that's one thing I'm not doing. But Jennifer's dying over there. You've got 2 sodas. You have 2 beverages.
I'm like drinking from both of them, Justin. I can't help it. There's something dry in my throat.
Yeah.
Being in these places where it is not a gospel rich environment, where you are the gospel to these places, how do you stay filled? Like Roger says, you can't give what you don't. You can't give out what you don't have. And so how do you guys stay spiritually strong or resilient in desert times? I wanted to talk to you about that because I feel like you guys probably experienced that. I mean, you're going to the desert, but what are some things you do to stay fresh in your faith?
Yeah. So I think abiding times with God alone and in community are really important. And so we do that individually. We're trying to teach the kids to do that individually together. Keith and I, like, for example, most of the time we have a weekly fasting day where the kids will eat the meal and we pull away and pray together. And this is such a sweet time. I mean, it's almost as fun as like a date. I mean, maybe it's more fun. Something that really helps us from a ministry perspective is meeting together with other believers and just listening. God, what are you doing in this place? And how can we be part of it? How do you want us to be part of it? That is really important, that we can see his perspective, because you can get so caught up in the daily minutia. But we try to do that wherever we are, really. Like, God, what are you doing in Houston? What are you doing in the US? So prayer, I mean, the spiritual disciplines, but something that's really important for me is transformation and healing. If I am not transforming, if I'm not healing, if I can't say I have more maturity today than I did last month or even last week, that's just something that's really life-giving for me. Like growing in my connection with him, my capacity to receive his love and connect with him.
So I feel like we talked about this a little bit last week, so I want to revisit this idea of abiding.
Yeah.
I think sometimes we miss this. I think we start our prayer and pretty much just go over what in our life is not matching up to our expectation, who's sick, what's going on. How would you describe how you abide with God? I'm glad you used that phrase. Can you tell us how you abide?
It's been important for me to use new words than a quiet time. Of course, I'm saying there's nothing wrong with the word or the phrase quiet time. But when I first started walking with Jesus, I was trained to have a quiet time in a certain way. And I had sort of a program. And then I would complete my program and subconsciously feel pretty good about that. Okay, check. I did what I'm supposed to do. Or the reverse, if I didn't do it, then I would feel some shame.
Sure.
Oh, I didn't do what God wants me to do or what I was supposed to do. So it's been important for me to use this word because I want to connect with him. I want to be a branch on his vine. I want to experience him throughout my day, but especially first thing in my day, to experience his love, to be aware of his presence and experience that, to sit before him sometimes with nothing, or to spill it all and tell him all the things, or to listen and let him tell me all the things. So for me, and this is personality, because my man, he needs the same time, the same place every day. That's how he connects with God. But for me, it just always ends up being different. Sometimes I'll just get lost. Like right now, I just cannot get out of 1 John. I can't move on. I'm just lost in 1 John and just like what great love the Father has given us that we could be called as children. I mean, so there's some answer. I'll breathe now.
Well, I love this idea of like what
really
you just said was like your personality, like making sure that you not everyone's going to connect with God the same way. Some people really like the structure of the quiet time or whatever, and following the seasons. I'm sure the way you abide with Christ now is different than you will in 15 years.
Or when I had newborns.
Right. Hello. Totally different. But something too is going back to what, for me, for so many years, all I listened to was worship music, really. And it's been a while. I listen to a lot more talk now. It's not that I'm like listening to things that are like terrible. It's just I don't listen to just worship. And we went on a trip this weekend, and I just, instead of turning on anything else, I just listened to a brand new album from a worship team that I really enjoy. And I was like, I had forgotten how much God can use that to connect with me. And kind of going back to the wells that you've forgotten about is, I think, what I hear some people, you saying a little bit, but just like making sure that the way you connect with God, if it's not feeling fresh, go to what you know and stick with what you know. And like 1 John right now is just where you're living, and you're just hanging out there. If that's a worship album that's out, that's got good theology, living in that and kind of sticking with what you know and enjoying it is, I think, what I hear you saying. You enjoy abiding in Christ in these ways, whereas your husband enjoys abiding in Christ with a really rigid structure. And finding the ways you enjoy Jesus, I think, is probably something we all should be pensive about.
It's funny too, growing up, it was exactly like you said, a quiet time and checking these boxes. You've got to do this. And it was so much about ritual and discipline. And I'm terrible with discipline. I'm terrible at doing things consistently. I get tired of something the third time I've done it. I'm like, we've been doing that like 3 times in a row now. Or I would forget or be off. And I always felt like I was failing spiritually because I couldn't get the discipline down. It took a long time to realize this is about a relationship. This discipline is teaching me how to be in this relationship. It's not about this relationship teaching me to be in this discipline. It's different. And so now it's a lot more whimsical. It's a lot more in the moment. It's reaction. It's in my life all day, in and out. And so I just wanted to ask you about that. I think you and I are a little bit more alike in that. Whereas, someone may like the checklist. Yeah.
Well, I think it's about learning styles too. Like education in recent years has gotten very much in this world of like, okay, some kids learn this way, some kids learn that way. I think some people connect with God one way. Some people, like for so long, we're like, you have to connect with God in this way. And this is the way a good Christian connects with God. And it's like, I think we're kind of growing out of that, because for a while it was very structured. And like, if you don't do it this way, you're not doing it right. And that's legalistic. You know what I'm saying? Like that's legalism. And so finding how you best connect with God is, I think, a journey everyone should be going on.
So you guys have the power of this perspective. Like you have the power of tapping out of the United States for months of the year and then coming back in. Mm-hmm. So when you're coming back in and you have this unique perspective, tell us, what do you see when you see, kids and parents and families kind of from where you are and what you're seeing? What do you wish you could scream to everybody? What do you wish you could just yell? Guys, do this, stop doing this, or realize this. What would you want to say?
That's a big one, Jen.
You may have more than one thing. It's like, which thing?
I wish that the people I love, when I interact with people, I wish that they would know how much we don't have to earn God's love. And we don't have to earn love from other people. We don't have to be beautiful. We don't have to be successful in our jobs. Our children don't have to go to the best school and be the best in school. We don't have to earn his love and his favor. It's okay. It's good to value rest and joy and fun. I hear the word, you just said it, Justin, we should be doing this. Mm-hmm. I hear that word so much. And I almost feel like anytime should comes through our thoughts or our words, that we should wonder, is that a voice of love or is that a voice of shame and condemnation?
Sure.
And we come from these cultures that really value community. And I feel like nobody has time for community. Nobody has time to to do life together. Everyone's trying to do life on their own and feeling like a failure. And God is so pleased with us. It has nothing to do with what we've done or should have done, not done.
Right. That's good.
That community idea, gosh, I am constantly frustrated with how hard it is to be connected with people that aren't in your home. You know what I'm saying? Like, because in college was like the epitome of community.
Just the glory.
I mean,
glory.
I think it really was
fun and
the
easy.
Closest to what God had planned was this idea of like, you all live in the same place. You have similar schedules. You can pop in each other's lives when you're going. And so I've always been trying to get back to that college experience. And I know it's never going to happen until I'm in the nursing home one day, and I'm going to love it. Like I'm pumped about a senior assisted living.
It's just like college.
Like I'm so excited because this idea of like having people that believe the same way as you, that you can just jump in their life for an hour and then jump back out. Like we don't have that. It's such an ordeal to get together with somebody that by the time I finally get together with somebody, I'm just exhausted. You just
don't even really want to be there.
And there's so much pressure in that 1 hour. Okay, we got this one lunch. Like we got to get everything.
We got to make the whole community make
and,
like
and
right now.
I do see that America just can't do it. Like it's almost impossible because of what we've been. The cards have been dealt in America. You know what I'm saying? The commuting to work, all these things that we can't change.
Yes.
And so to have community, get involved at church. We've got community groups, and we've got a lot of community groups that are really doing that well. But it takes so much extra effort, where it sounds like in the context in Africa, it's just so much more natural. It's not an extra burden to make community. It just is.
That's the other, and I've been thinking about that. We are in community with each other. But the problem I'm seeing now is that it is not a community that accepts everyone who belongs in the community. It's not a community where like you're just part of our family, no matter who you are, what you look like, you belong. It's people engineering idealized type communities that they kind of like everyone has to reflect who they wish they could be. And I'm seeing that and I feel like it's playing out into our bigger society in that if you don't fit this specific mold, if you're a little bit outside of these expected boundaries or behaviors, then it's like you're tossed into this side group. And I just feel like if we had a lot more acceptance of whoever's in our community and love them, and we had more forgiveness if someone messes up or there's a little spat or a little argument, that our belonging is so valuable to us, is so important that we do forgive and we continue. Because now it's like if you have a little spat, that friendship gets a little weird, and then you just sort of disassociate and you move on with your life, and you're like, okay, we'll just find someone else that we have complete agreement with and everything in our lives. So for me, I feel like this desire of full acceptance, forgiveness, like real belonging for who you are. And that's what I see missing, is that you kind of have to fit in these molds in order to be placed in these groups where you talk about how good it is that we get to be together. And I'm talking about real deep, meaningful belonging that helps people love themselves.
Yeah. I saw a short documentary, which is what we call TikTok videos over here, about the different lives we have. And one of them is secret, which can be bad, but there's public and private. And it's like, once someone gets into your private life, it's like this level of relationship, and it's this level of trust. And I think we have public community super easily. I think moving into private community where it is more intimately connected is a jump that so few people feel bold enough to make. And I think that's probably what we're missing, is that we have surface level community. We go to this club, or we hang out with, we do these club sports, or our kids are on the same athletic team. We have so much public community. I don't think many of us are getting private community. I say private in a way, not like it's even bad, but it's just like the things that we don't publicize,
that you wouldn't put out
that
for
we
everyone.
Wouldn't broadcast. No one's getting that, but like our spouse, and which is good that our spouse has that.
Like no one needs to know that I have 25 half-empty Diet Coke cans by my bed, almost at any time. That's private.
A friend who knows that private part of you
anymore,
is going to have a deeper connection with you.
Yes,
and you only get that connection by working.
Do you just sense it? Like I just think when you go to these communities and you can feel the community, like. And when you come to visit and when you step in, they just pull you in. And this level of belonging is something that's probably almost completely foreign to us, unless we're at our like family reunion. I just think, is it just so wonderful?
Well, of course we are, that's something we witness, something we observe, but we've had very few and precious times when we've actually been part of that community. When my house helper passed away, that was one of those times. We were very much in that community during a very intense time. And it was precious, and it was so healing, and it was really life-giving, and it really helped in our grieving process. But we don't have that. We didn't have that on a daily basis because of lots of reasons. When we lived in Sudan, there was a lot of transition and moving. And when we were in Chad, we had that to some extent with this family I'm talking about. But it is really beautiful and really precious. But you see in people how stable they are, how rooted they are. I remember teaching my house helper about the kingdom of God and that she was a daughter of a king. And she was like, yeah. And she just seemed like she got it. And I think I told Keith later, I don't think she understands this at all. And then years later, come to find out, her grandfather actually was a king. So yeah, she got it.
Sure. That's along with everything else I've experienced.
Yeah. So she really did know what it meant to be a daughter of a king and a favored daughter of a king and part of a family. And there's a groundedness and an identity that's so deep when you're part of a community like that it carries you through really deep, dark times.
Wow. I love that. I love that picture of that, and to be able to really hold on to that in identity. And I do think community is where we get our first kind of first feelings of rejection and the first feelings of not measuring up or not being who we're supposed to be. And I think because our communities aren't very good at managing that people end up in pretty hard spaces. And it a lot of times comes back to how you belonged in your community. And I don't think we recognize that much. We chalk it up to, imbalances or, just figuring out who you are, or it's you were born with this issue or this challenge or this, and really a lot of it has to do with belonging. And having an identity in Christ of who you are. Anyway, it's just been something I've been thinking a lot.
Yeah, well, I'll just say,
lately.
As far as community goes, because it takes work, it's a value of our church to make it as easy as possible. And so one of the great things about all of our campuses is how seriously we take this idea of how do we create opportunities for people to connect that want to. Now, we can't make you come to community. We can't force that on you, but our church works hard to create opportunities for that. And if you are local, you can visit cityrise.org/community groups or /adults, /students, /kid stuff. All those places will take you to age appropriate connections where you can get involved in community, honestly, as best as you can in America, I think. You know what I'm saying? We're working in the height of American culture here in Houston to make that possible. And so we have that available for you.
We've had moments I'm in Family Matters at WestU, and we've had moments where our whole, we're in community group, we're doing our Bible study, we're visiting, but our whole group has just stopped and laid hands on a family that's really suffering or, prayed for a teenager that's having a really difficult time, or a mom who's figuring out custody battles with her ex, or just hard, difficult times that come around, and have that body lay hands on you and just hold on to you during those seasons is so meaningful, so powerful. So I'm really thankful the City Rise does provide that. So in your new space, in a year from now, when you guys are moving into your new assignment, what will that look like? Is it going to be a lot like what you've been doing, where you're building relationships, you're connecting with people, you're trying to share the gospel, you're praying?
Yes.
Are you excited about that?
I think it will look the same, except we will have more young people that we're bringing along with us.
That's super. I love the idea that you're moving into a mentoring role. You're so good at being able to pinpoint things that only the Holy Spirit could tell you, that just this insight, this depth that I think will be so meaningful for these 20-year-olds to have someone speaking into their life like that and teaching them like this. So I think it's so appropriate and so cool that you're moving into a mentor role.
Have they already been chosen? Is this an application process? How do you get connected with these people?
Well, we would just be, right now we're in the process of sort of making it known, like, hey, this is what we're doing.
Yeah.
And if you're interested, connect with us.
So these aren't locals. These aren't nationals. These are people coming from America with you think? Or is it a little bit of both?
Yeah. I mean, it wouldn't be just America, but yes, like America, Europe, maybe global South.
Okay.
And we do hope very much to partner with local believers, which in the Arab Peninsula, there aren't that many, but there are some, and they're doing media outreach, and they really need expats to come and bridge that gap with people who are interested. So yeah, sharing with people, praying, that's something that's been really important for us. We believe that the fruitfulness that we've seen has come directly from our regular intercession times and worship times. And so it's not necessarily a formal program. It's more of a sort of informal, but we are talking to people and letting people know about it.
That's
sometimes
great.
Even on a podcast.
Sometimes even in this moment.
Yeah. Let us know if you want to get connected. We obviously can't put all your contact information out there, but if this is interesting to you, you know how to get in touch with us. And we can bridge the gap.
We can pass it along. Oh man, it's been so good to visit with you. Thank you for coming today and hanging out with us. And one of your children are here in the room. Eleanor.
Being so quiet and polite,
cool
which
kid.
is wild to me.
She's so cool. Children. I love your kids. They're just so, they can roll.
One story about that is when we came to interview here, Maggie was less than 1 year old, and we sat in the back of the service. No one really knew who we were. It was one of those not secret, but when you first are interviewing, they aren't like advertising everybody.
You just had like a plastic just paper sack over your head in the back.
So we sat in the back of Crosspoint with our daughter, who is almost the same age, I think, as David. So she just turned 7 in February. So she's just behind him. And I think you had him with you, and he was also kind of fussy. And we were on top of Maggie, trying to make her and you were just like, guys, what's going on? This is great. It was just and I'm sure you don't even remember it because I didn't even really register as a person at that point because I was just interviewing. But it
was Trisha?
Yes, it was her. And she had David with her. Maggie was with us. We were trying to manage this child, or we were trying to scope out this church. And she was just so comforting, just the permission to let our daughter be kind of rowdy, from a fellow mom in the same space meant a lot to my wife. Because, you're nervous, you're here at this church checking it out. They're checking you out. You want to look like you've got everything together. And you were just so gave us that permission to just she's a child, let her, in a kind way. And you don't even, like I said, you don't even remember it, but it was such a kindness to us in that moment that I still remember. And when I put 2 and 2 together later, I was like, oh, that was Trisha. Because you were gone by the time we moved here. You know what I'm saying? Right. You were only there for that short season. So it was a neat thing for us.
That's super sweet.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, you guys. I've really enjoyed being with you.
Thank you. And we'll continue to pray for you guys as you're moving on. And we also have a get to know you question.
Final question.
All right. If you were a scent, what would it be?
And we'll answer first. A smell?
A smell.
Or just what's your favorite smell?
No, not what's your favorite smell.
Oh.
If you were a smell.
A scent that defines
Is this a weird one?
Do you have one? Give me an example. I need to understand where your brain is at.
I need to understand what you're thinking here.
You're talking about cooked meat here or cooking
a
meat?
nice.
Yeah. Or maybe a scent that is associated with you.
Maybe it's your favorite scent.
Do you have something?
The whole if you were a scent thing is a little weird.
I want to hear what your answer is, and that will help me answer.
I think I'm moving into what's your favorite scent.
That's great.
Because the more I think about this, especially now that we've applied favorite foods, it's kind of weird.
Yeah. Okay, great.
All right. So I have 2. I have a couple different ones. Uh-huh. One, I love the smell of fresh cut grass. Mm-hmm. I love that.
Yeah.
It's a good smell. Another favorite smell of mine are these holiday candles that just sort of, I don't know how it's just this homey, Christmassy smell. It's pretty common, but when you know that it's autumn and fall with the smell of this candle.
Yeah.
I think it's so wild that they can encapsulate a season with a smell, but they do it.
That's capitalism. They did it.
Yeah. Way to go, capitalism. All right.
I will say as an aside, I don't think we shouldn't answer this. We have done this question before.
Well, then I have another question.
It was on Dr. Tor's episode because I remember.
You asked Dr. Tor.
Yeah, what his favorite smell was.
What his smell was.
He went into this like, well, I'm a chemist, so smells are this and that. And I don't even remember what he said. And then I said bacon. He goes, oh, yeah, bacon. That reminds me of my childhood. And so like it was
his answer was a lot more.
It was a lot more thoughtful,
in depth,
and like scientific.
Yeah,
I don't remember. So bacon. I don't think bacon because bacon lingers too long, and I'm like, get out of here. But I don't think you can beat the smell of some baked good. I'm not even picky. I don't care if it's a muffin or a cookie or banana bread or even just regular bread. If there is something that is flour based that is baking,
that's your smell.
That is like.
You're so happy.
Yeah. And your house smells good for like hours after. Like it's incredible.
Like, they say if you're selling your house, right? Put on some cookies.
Yes. Cookies. Yes,
it's very welcoming.
So any baked good.
I love jasmine. We just.
Your daughter's over there. She's Eleanor like, knows. She knows.
If I smell even like 3 flowers and we're on a walk, I'm like, stop, let's go find it. I just love it.
Wow.
I love it.
I don't know if I could define the smell of jasmine. I need to look into this.
Off the top, no, I don't know.
If you were having a smell test right now, you could.
I know. I think I could probably narrow it down.
Yeah.
Because so many people, there's one that everybody likes that smells to me like Vicks Vapor Rub.
I doubt it's jasmine.
It's not jasmine, but it's a different flower that people are like, I love this flower.
Yeah.
But let me say this to you. Did we ever talk about paper whites? We talked about that on the show.
Paper weights?
Whites. Paper whites. I gave Jean Pennington a candle for her birthday. And she takes it and sniffs it, and she's like, physically repulsed.
Oh, wow.
She's like,
she rejected it. Her body rejected it.
Oh, thank you. And then she hands it to me. Yeah.
Wow.
She hands it to the table and goes, looks to the side. She's like, it's paper whites. And they're like,
is that a flower?
Apparently, it is like the cilantro of flour. In that flowers in that you either love it or hate it.
Oh.
And well, Jean does not love it.
Wow.
Obviously. And so they all pass around. They're like, oh, yeah, that's paper whites.
What a crushing blow.
It was crushing.
I'm so
because I didn't know this was a thing.
That you could have a flower that some would reject and some wouldn't.
I know. And we see our friend Pat at church, and she's part of the choir. And I was telling someone about it, and Pat goes, oh, what was it? And they go, paper whites. And she goes, oh.
This is the first I've heard of it.
Everyone knows.
Well, how old are these? These are like sweet old ladies, though, that know their flowers, right? They know their flowers.
Like younger women that were at the same table also they're like,
wow.
Right.
What did you know this? I never heard of this.
No idea what you're talking about.
What a floral expertise.
I thought paper white was something you would buy at Office Max.
Yeah.
So
wow.
I know less than you, Jen.
I think that's called white.
Yeah, that's news to me. I learned something today.
Yeah. So now you guys have to go smell this. And what's going to be embarrassing to me is I actually smelled this candle and thought,
you liked it.
Oh, this is right. And now you'll go and you'll be like, oh,
now it's a mark of shame on you.
I guess that's a paper.
With all these ladies, they'll never forget.
Let me just say, and our time here is done, so please feel free to cut this. But I'm on a little team putting together a shower, a baby shower, and let me tell you what Jean Pennington assigned me to bring:
napkins.
The ice.
Oh, the ice.
That's how little trust they have in me.
I mean,
and then I think Kristen Campbell goes, and what ice are you thinking about bringing?
Send us a picture before you buy it. Like,
take like a picture. I was like, are you kidding me? Yeah. They're like, Jennifer, we need you to bring the ice. And do you think you could get tea? Do you think you could get tea?
Think you can handle it?
I'm like, yeah, I think I could get tea.
Can you?
No, I don't know where to get tea. But they wouldn't let me do none of the casseroles. They wouldn't let me do any of the baked goods.
That's really, honestly, that's a blessing.
And when I said,
how about they know you're a busy woman and they want to give you a job?
Let's talk about busy.
No,
Jennifer had 3 meetings scheduled for 2:00.
I have to run.
You're right, Jen.
Oh my goodness, I'm late for another meeting. Oh, I got to get out of here.
Okay.
Thank you guys for being here.
Let me wrap it up. Thank you so much for joining us. If you enjoyed it, please send the link to somebody. We'd love for you to rate, review, and subscribe. If you listen to this, we are on YouTube now, and the link to the playlist is in the description of this podcast. If you watch on YouTube, give us a like or a share in the algorithm. That's free. That would help us out. And you can always email us at podcast@cityrise.org if you have questions or thoughts about people that we can talk to.
All right. I'm texting my person I'm late. I'm supposed to meet them 10 minutes ago. Anyway, thankfully, I don't think they listen to the show. Trisha, as always, we love spending time with you, and we're excited to hear about what God's doing in your life. Thank you for being here. Thank you guys for joining us today, and we hope you had an almost amazing time on the Almost Amazing Podcast.
Thanks for listening to the Almost Amazing podcast from the City Rise Network, based in Houston, Texas. City Rise is a partnership of church campuses, nonprofits, and missionaries devoted to lifting our city and the world by generously giving the gospel of Jesus Christ. For more information or to find a church campus close to you in the Houston area, visit cityrise.org.